Good evening, welcome back to Three Swords Gaming. I'm doing another new player guide, and this time I want to talk about leveling. There are a number of ways of leveling within Guild Wars 2, and it really depends on how you want to play the game, and we'll kind of get into that. So, what I have here is a new character on my main account. All my character slots were full, but I had a character that I had been considering deleting for quite some time, and I decided to go ahead and pull the trigger on that. I got enough characters that, quite frankly, like the birthday gifts and stuff, are kind of irrelevant to me. So I decided to go ahead and replace it with a new character. And so we are at level 2 at present, which you can see right here, level 2 engineer, right? And we want to gain some levels. So how might we go about doing that? Well, I want to start out by pointing out that you can get experience doing almost anything in the game, right? So if you look at my map down here in the bottom right corner, you'll see that I have an undiscovered point of interest there, and if we just run over and grab that, then we will, of course, get experience for that. A very small amount, and yet it moves the bar, because I'm at level 2, fairly considerably. Grab this waypoint over here, we'll see the same thing again. So almost everything you do when it comes to like running around the map, engaging with enemies, we come over here and pop up an enemy here on this this worm here, then we will also get, again, experience for killing the worm, right? That is pretty consistent with just about every MMO. So if you have any experience with a game like this at all, then you probably came into Guild Wars 2 fully expecting that, and doing those things and saying, okay, well, I'm getting experience, but I'm getting it very slowly. How might I get it faster? Well, you can see right now we are near one of these hearts that you might see on the map. And if you're unfamiliar with that, this is kind of a... When Guild Wars 2 was being designed, these hearts were intended as a replacement for like geographically specific events that might take place on the map. But what they discovered as they were developing the game is that they did not feel as dynamic as events, and so they included both events and the hearts. So within Quarteria here, that being like the original core portion of the game, which actually doesn't include that, but like this over here, all this to include all the way over here, not this down here, but all this down into ore and whatnot, these hearts can be done once on each map, and you will get credit for them. So if we were to start going through the process of getting this heart, then you would see that you get a relatively, and I do mean relatively, meaningful amount of experience for that. And yet still not very much. So even if you're running around doing exploration and the hearts, you're probably going to feel relatively unsatisfied. You're going to say, I'm still leveling very slow. You might have even been told by someone else that Guild Wars 2 was a game where you could level quickly and you wouldn't be having that experience. So the next thing I want to draw your attention to is if you come to your hero panel, you can push H, or it's up here, the sword shield up in the top left corner up here, and you come to your achievements, come to Character Adventure Guide, and you will see that you have a list of tasks. You'll see there's 5 tabs here for Character Adventure Guide. When you are very first getting started, you're going to see that they're all locked off except for the first one, and you'll see a variety of tasks here. For example, apply conditions 20 times. That's going to be very easy for us because what I created here was an engineer. So we pop a few more of these worms, and both of our pistol skills here are going to apply conditions. So real quick, let's kill a few worms and apply conditions in the process, so that we can reach that goal of 20. And I want you to see like how incredibly our experience jumps, because it's quite significant. And it will look quite significant right now, particularly because we're at level 2. So once we get that, it's basically going to jump immediately to level 3. I can't imagine that it wouldn't, given how much experience we'll get from that. And I'm drawing your attention to this because this is that Character Adventure Guide system. Which, by the way, when you're a brand new player, that's probably going to appear up here in the top right. It's not for me because I have a few other things that I was kind of messing around with. Achievements from earlier expansions that I never got around to doing up there. But normally that would probably appear right up here for you. So we see we got that. It actually didn't give us level 3, which I'm a little bit surprised about. But each one of those that you get is going to give you a pretty solid chunk of experience, right? You can see we're creeping up on others. A few of these, some are combat related, some do other things. For example, if we just waypoint to this waypoint right next to us, it'll give us another one, and now we've jumped up to level 3. All right, I would strongly encourage pursuing these during your... Oh, there's an event. Let's do the event because I want to point out the next thing, which is events are going to give better experience. And even though this is like the simplest event in the game, I'm level 3, so I still have to take a few shots at this guy. Alright, so we also completed the heart. So we got the credit for the tutorial thing here, the adventure guide for completing the heart. We did the event, and we have jumped all the way up to level 4 now, just like that. So do grab events, do the character adventure guide, but also make sure you grab events as you're running around the world. So let's say I'm on my way from point A to point B. I don't know how easy it's going to be to find an event. Okay, there's another one right there. If I'm in the process of leveling, it would probably be in my best interest to go ahead and stop and work on this event. So I can see right here the guys that I need to kill to keep the reservoir poison level down. And I'm going to do that. And they're actually spread out across these pipes, so here we see a few more. I'm not in the interest of keeping this video short, because I wanted my first tutorial video to be short, and it still wasn't. So we're going to try and keep this one short. If I was trying to level quickly, it would be in my best interest to fully do this event, right? Let's say, however, let's take a moment to talk about the possibility that you do not enjoy this open world content, right? Maybe you are a PvP player, or you are a world versus world player, which is another form of PvP, if you haven't kind of encountered that yet. So, well, wrong button. I never play PvP. So here we go. We could dive into the PvP lobby, right? What I want to show you is that PvP and world versus world are viable means of leveling up a character. Now, if you're on your very first character, they are not going to be available to you until you get to a certain level. But once you've gotten to that point, you can jump into PvP, or the same is true of world versus world. We can look at that here in a minute. And you'll see that you can choose one of these reward tracks, which will be like what you want to pursue, what you want to get for your gameplay as you progress through. If you take a look at this glorious reward track right here, it says Tier 4 of 8. And I have not played structured PvP on this account in probably 7 years. So God knows when I actually started that reward track. But you'll see that for this particular portion of progression right here that I am halfway through, there are a few different things I can get. And there are some loot boxes. There's a transmutation charge for the wardrobe system, which I'm going to make a video about later. And then you see that little red and gold book off to the right before you get to the big chest. That is one of these, a Tome of Knowledge. That grants an entire level to any character that you wish, assuming they're not max level, right? Because if you can use one on a max level character, it just won't give you any more levels. It gives you something else instead, which is a Spirit Shard, a type of currency that you can gather from essentially leveling after you're already max level, right? So you'll get one of those instead if you do it at a max level. That's not the point of this video. If I'm trying to level a character through PvP or world versus world, because here we can look at world versus world, we can look at reward tracks, you'll see the same thing. On the Gift of Battle item reward track here, you'll see that there's a Tome of Knowledge right there, there's one right there, there's one right there. So in whatever period of time it takes me to advance through this reward track, which as a rule of thumb I say 8 hours. That's not necessarily true all the time. It can vary fairly drastically from person to person, but let's say 8 hours. I can get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them. And the reality is you'll actually get a few more because you're also going to level up like your World vs. World levels and stuff like that. So realistically, you're probably going to get 10 to 12 levels in those 8 hours. Now, you can level much faster than that in PvE. Actually don't want to be here anymore, and I go to PvP so rarely, I forget where the portal is to get anywhere else. That is probably slower than leveling in PvE. But if that is you playing the game mode that you want, then there's probably a payoff in that for you, which is you're playing the type of game that you like, and yet you're reaping benefits in another portion of the game. And so that might be beneficial for you. I also want to point out that these tomes of knowledge, when I'm doing events, when I'm doing exploration, stuff like that, and to include the character adventure guide, when I'm doing all those things, the experience gained applies directly to the character that I do them on. However, with those tomes, like the 2 tomes that I have here in my inventory right now, I did not earn those with this character. Those tomes can be put in your bank, they can be transferred over to another character. So if you're someone who wants to play PvP or World vs. World, you can do that consistently and level up numerous other characters within your account, because they can't be transferred across accounts. But within your account, you can level up numerous other characters, as many as you choose, with those items. Players who play exclusively PvP or World vs. World are known to have literal stacks, 250, 500, 750 of those tomes laying around in their inventory, and not necessarily like being used, because oftentimes those players will find a main class and they'll stick to it because that's a little bit... Experimentation is not rewarded in PvP the way it's rewarded in PvE. So more often than not, you will see those players just have those stacks, and either they'll consume them for their spirit shards, or they will just let them pile up, or they'll even throw them away. Alright, there is one more thing within the PvE domain that I do want to address before I move on to a few other interesting things. One of those things is dungeons. So whereas raids and strikes, which are really just another form of raids, and presumably here in a couple months, whenever it is that we get the next update for Visions of Eternity, it should just be called raids at that point, because they should be uniting those two very similar game modes. Those are purely level 80 content. The original dungeons that launched with Guild Wars 2, when Guild Wars 2 came out, were not limited to level 80. So the map that I'm on right now, the Char starting area, Plains of Ashford here, has a dungeon that I believe it's level 30 is the recommended level for the story mode on that dungeon. Completing a dungeon the first time in a day, because the dungeons do experience, like a number of things in Guild Wars 2. Not everything in Guild Wars 2, but a number of things. You will experience diminishing returns if you repeatedly do the same content. Not the PvP stuff. You'll always advance that reward track. Essentially the same boosters and whatnot notwithstanding. But dungeons, you'll definitely experience diminishing returns. However, your first time through the dungeon, and this is kind of where I was wanting to go before I got a phone call, which was a little distracting. Your first time through that dungeon, you get 2/3 of a level for completing that dungeon. So if you are a new player and you're at level 30, 35, 40, somewhere in that ballpark, and you're wanting to level and you're wanting to experience group gameplay for the first time, I strongly, strongly recommend trying out the dungeons. And I will probably do a separate video to kind of address what dungeons are and how they work and so forth. But because I'm recommending it for leveling, I want to cover really quickly what I would recommend. So this is the lowest level dungeon. This is the entrance right here. Presumably these folks are waiting for a group or whatever. If you want to do this, I would recommend hopping into this Contacts and LFG tab up here in the top left. It's like the little group of peoples, or you press Y, come over to LFG, sort through this really unwieldy list. Like, this could use another pass. They might want to consider what this looks like. Take a look at the dungeons, and right now they're grayed out for me because this character is too low leveled, but come to the dungeon that you want to do and then create. Let's see if we can find something where I can actually create. Advertise your group. Click on the button advertise your group and put in your listing that you are a brand new player who wants to try X dungeon for the first time. Cannot emphasize that enough. Say in your listing that you are a new player. If it is your second time to do that dungeon, say in the listing that you are a new player. If it is your 8th time to do that dungeon, say in your listing that you are a new player. Up until you've done the same dungeon about 10 times, I would just go ahead and say, hey, I am a new player. If you want to watch all the cutscenes and everything, I would recommend you specify that. If you want to really take your time, specify not a speed run, not rushing, something like that. I would recommend you be as clear as possible in your dungeon listing exactly what you want your experience to be like. Not just because of expectations for the other players on the group, but because actually if you say, I am a new player who wants to take my time and experience the dungeon in the fullest, you are probably actually more likely to get other players to assist you. If you make a dungeon listing, I want to run this dungeon as fast as possible and I'm going to be a jerk about it, you're actually going to have a really hard time getting people because of where dungeons are at right now as a game mode. You're not going to find people easily to run that dungeon with you. If you put in your listing, I am a new player, I want to get the full experience of this dungeon for the first time, I'm watching all cutscenes, and I would appreciate, people helping me progress through this dungeon, you're probably going to fill your group relatively quickly because there's such a large number of veteran players who actually get to relive their new player experience by helping you do that. It feels good for them, and you're probably going to actually fill your group faster that way. And you're going to properly address the expectation side of it. They're going to know that they know what to expect going into it. Because if people think you're skipping cutscenes and then one person chooses not to skip them, then people get weird about that sometimes. I'll always assume that the lowest common denominator is going to be true when it comes to people's behavior. Not even people's skill, people's behavior. That's just life advice right there. That's not even Guild Wars 2. All right. Another thing I want to cover really quick, another item. So over here by where I have the Tomes of Knowledge, I have this, an experience scroll. You can see the description on the screen. Double click to advance a character to level 60. So a new player is not going to see one of these. New player is going to go several years without seeing one of these, and the first time, I believe it's 3 years the first time you see one. And the first time you do see it, it's going to be level 20. And then a year after that, you'll get another one on that character's birthday that's level 30, and then another one on that character's birthday that's level 40. So, after spending 7 years in the game, I believe it is, you will get to the point where you get a scroll that says you can advance a character to level 60. This is irrelevant for new players. I only want to mention it so that you know they exist in the game. It is not accessible for a brand new account, because as far as I know, the only acquisition method are birthday gifts for a character that is reached. So they're not even intended for that character. If a character has been around for 8 years in the game, odds are they're already level 80. It's for a veteran player who's been playing long enough that they're receiving them, and then they can then transfer it onto another character. So for example, if I were to use that right now, I'm not going to because you don't want to see everything happen on the screen, because I'm going to get all the level up rewards. They're going to pop up and all the little level up screens and everything, but this character would jump to level 60. A quick note between these two things. When using tomes, it will give you one level regardless of the level you are at. When using the scroll, it will take you to the level it says it will take you to, no matter what level you are at. If I use this level 60 scroll at level 58, I will go to level 60. If I use the tome, whether I'm at level 1 or level 58, I'm just going to go to the next level, right? One more note on that with tomes. Your first 15 levels, you get faster. particularly the first 10. But up through level 15, you progress faster. I would never recommend, particularly a new player that might only get a handful of scrolls from experimenting with PvP or World vs. World or whatever. If you have a few tomes... Oh, there's another acquisition method which we'll talk about in a minute too. If you have a few tomes, do not use them until you are level 15 because level 15 is so easy to reach. An experienced player can reach level 15 in under half an hour easily, probably under 20 minutes. Even a new player should be able to do it in under 30 minutes, particularly if they're using the character adventure guide. So instead, sit on those tomes until after level 15, and then you're really going to get your money's worth out of them. All right. Another way of leveling even quicker. Wizard's Vault. Fulfill these tasks, and I think on an... I'm going to be honest, though. I think on a new account, you might have to be level 80. But you might have to have one level 80 character before the vault unlocks. That might just be a free account, or it might be all new accounts. I'm not 100% certain. Bottom line, once you get access to the Wizard's Vault, you knock out your basic daily tasks. You can knock out some of the weekly tasks, which you can see I've been doing a poor job of this week. I've been working a lot. You can knock out special tasks if you feel so inclined. You can see they give a lot of the Astral Acclaim, which is the currency for this. This is like a reward system. It replaced the login system in Guild Wars 2. Highly encourage all players to engage with this system because the rewards are so good. Build up some of the currency that this system rewards. Come into the actual little shop for it, which never works right. Always have to open it twice. I don't know if that's just me or if that's just their shop. Tomes of Knowledge. Only 8 Astral Acclaim each. Logging in gives you 5. Each of these gives you 10. You can see I got 5 for logging in, 10 already for completing a heart. I can get 30 more just by doing these 3 tasks. Then I will get another 20 because I completed 4 and I get this chest. So potentially, just from doing the dailies, that is 10, 20, 30, 40, 45, plus 20, 65 right there. And we haven't even got to like weeklies that you can get during the week and stuff like that, where you can get hundreds more. So there's a very high potential to get 35 levels with a very short amount of time worth of work. And then this will reset every 3 months when they do a new DLC. So every 3 months, you can get 35 levels towards a character with really an absolute minimum of work. You can also get a lot of other things, whether it's Mystic Coins, whether it's gold, which you can see during this period I've already bought out all the cheap gold, which is very, very cheap, and we'll cover that during the video about making gold. And we'll talk about the coins and the laurels as well. In general, this is just a huge gold generating option for you, but it also can be a leveling option. A lot of experienced players are going to tell you, don't buy the tomes because that's leveling too quickly, level gradually. The experience is going to help you appreciate the game more and make you better at the game, and a new account would be better served grabbing things like gold and mystic coins to generate income for the account. That's fine. I have no argument with that. I also only partially agree with that. Cutting your leveling time by 20 to 30% at least is not going to hurt you that much because at the end of the day, the core game only prepares you so much anyway. Okay, finally, one last thing to discuss when I talk about leveling, and particularly leveling quickly if that's what you want to do. There is one more option that is available to you. It's probably in upgrades. Let's see if we can find it. While we're looking for it, I'll also mention, in fact, you probably get one with this. No, you don't. When you buy an expansion, generally speaking, with most of the expansion packages, I don't know if it's all of them or not, but definitely with most of them, you will get a level 80 boost. Right here, you can also see that you can buy a level 80 boost in the gem store for $25 US. Leveling is easy enough. If you use the other stuff that I've mentioned, it's easy enough in this game. I don't feel like you should ever feel obligated to spend $25 on a level 80 boost. I did it once across all my accounts many, many years ago for a very specific purpose. I wanted to play with some people. We were creating new characters to be able to play certain content together, and I decided to spend the money to be able to do that, but generally speaking, and particularly if you're a new player, do not recommend. Now, if you buy the expansion and you get a level 80 boost with the expansion, then here's the deal. Let's talk about that. Veteran players, by and large, are going to tell you, if you are a new player, do not use the level 80 boost right away. Level at least one character manually to level 80 before you start using boosts. I'm fine with that advice. That is probably wise advice. I also think that the level 80 boost was clearly marketed by ArenaNet towards new players. People who want to defend the studio are going to tell you that that level 80 boost was intended for... have I, never seen this event over here before? Are going to tell you that that boost was intended for experienced players to create alts, because it's an alt-friendly game. Maybe, but I doubt it. There's nothing about it that suggests that. It comes with expansions so that new players can catch up with all the other players in that expansion. And they can start that expansion, which is level 80 content, with everyone else. When using that boost, it takes you immediately to Silver Waste and gives you tutorial information about how to do a build and how the game works. And they're not doing that for the supposed experienced players who are benefiting from the boost. So it is, in my opinion, unquestionably aimed at new players. It might not be wise for new players to use it, but you're the one it's aimed at. I can't blame you if you choose to use it. If you do, it would probably benefit you to continue to play through the story and a lot of solo content and continue to get to know your class until you have more proficiency before you start doing group content with other people. Or you might have a bad time. And I think that would be true of any boost in any MMO that offers such a thing. But I will leave that up to you. What I did want to make clear is that that option is available. If you want to credit card farm your levels, more power to you. If you choose to use the boost, my one recommendation would be identify 2 classes that you want to play. Use the boost on one of them and manually level the other so that you can enjoy the benefits of having a level 80 character if there were certain things you wanted that for. Say, to unlock the PvP modes, to unlock Wizard's Vault, to maybe do 2 story instances out of Path of Fire and gain access to the Raptor. Those would all be completely justifiable reasons to use a boost on as a brand new player. And I would help a guildie do that if I had someone in a guild that wanted to do those things. Do that on one class, but then continue to manually level up another class so that you can still get to know a lot of the mechanics that exist within Guild Wars 2. That would be my recommendation for you. Anyway, I think that really covers... I tried to keep this short. It wasn't short at all. We're at 29 minutes. Good lord. That kind of covers the options you have available for leveling and leveling quicker rather than not. My personal recommendation, do level manually so that you understand the experience, but take advantage of the character adventure guide, because that is actually designed to get you to do certain things like revive allies and use your profession mechanics and use healing skills. And as you get into these, some of the other things are even more specific. Use that character adventure guide so that you're learning the things they want you to learn, but leveling much faster. And then at some point between level 40 and level 60, if you have access to the Wizard's Vault, use it to skip 10 to 15 levels, because between level 40 and level 60, even level 70, you're not learning anything. It's just more of the same until you reach endgame. So that's my personal recommendation. If this is helpful to even one person, then hopefully it was worth it. You have a good evening, and we will be back soon with another video, probably on generating gold on a new account. Thank you. Have a good evening.